Welcome up! In this episode we are discussing the concept of ideology. Coming up. Hello, I'm Understanding Politics, and in this channel I explain political theories to students as well as curious and passionate people, just like you. Today we're talking about ideology, a system of ideas intended to have practical socio-political implications. Ideology is a form of political philosophy, but a practical version, intended to justify actions, choices and policies. In other words, ideology is a philosophy of action. Among the most common examples of ideologies we have liberalism, anarchism, socialism, conservatism, fascism, nationalism and communism. The term firstly appeared in French as idéologie during the French Revolution, used by the philosopher A.L.C. Descartes as a diminutive for science of ideas. In fact, ideologies became an aware strategy of doing politics only when parties first appeared. As you will remember from one of my previous videos, parties emerged during the French Revolution to represent different interests within societies. Members of these parties created them based on what they believed was right. In other words, parties were created with a specific ideology. Of course, talking about ideologies would have been entirely possible before the French Revolution, but back then policymakers were not entirely aware of having one. Even more, in the Middle Age, ideology was often one thing with religion. In a way, ideologies are very similar to religions in their being dogmatic, yet religions are more focused on what comes after our life on earth, and hence they often ask for faith and prayer rather than action. Yes, religions can have an idea of how a just society should be, but rarely these can be translated into a political program. Quite on the contrary, ideologies are specific analyses of societies that naturally lead to the formulation of policies or solutions to the problem that said analysis envisioned. For Descartes, an ideology had 5 elements. 1. An explanatory theory of society and the world. 2. A program of social and political organization. 3. The conviction that its realization would be a struggle. 4. The objective to recruit members, expecting also their commitment. And 5. The expectation to have a wide reach to the public. Marx and Engels used the term ideology in pejorative terms to identify what they called false consciousness, but in the end they were prime ideologues, and Marxism is just another ideology. In other words, an ideologue can critique the concept of ideology because he is ideological or biased. If this person has a specific idea of reality and cannot accept those of others, everything else is just not true, a false consciousness. It is not a chance that Marx defined its philosophy as scientific socialism. The moment you define an ideology as scientific, everything else becomes false consciousness. Yet even Marx was relatively inconsistent in his use of the term ideology, and in later texts he will use it in its original neutral meaning. If you watched my video on totalitarianism, you know that totalitarian states can be left or right-oriented. In the 20th century, Europe had the Nazi Germany of Hitler and the Soviet Union of Stalin. These states were driven by ideologies, conceived to be the only right interpretation of reality. If these ideologies are in power, the result cannot be anything different from totalitarian states. On the contrary, an ideology aware of representing the interests of only a part of the society is an ideology that accepts different interpretations of reality. Of course, these types of ideologies are a better fit for liberal democracies. Over time, the concept of ideology had been hardly criticized, as it was able to generate monsters such as fascism and communism. Especially after World War II, the idea of pragmatism in politics was preferred and believed as a valid alternative to ideology. By dealing with more concrete and contingent cases, politicians could disregard debates on the more philosophical aspects of the life of a society. But this was not a solution to the problem. If used with its original meaning, the one proposed by Descartes, ideology is an unavoidable dimension of politics. Even if you're dealing with specific contingent policies, as a politician you need a system of values guiding your choices. Otherwise, the electorate does not know what to expect from you. Of course, Programs should change, and ideologies are not carved in stone. They should be light and flexible enough to allow reconsiderations and recalculations in consideration of the needs and problems of the society. Ideologies should not be absolute as communism and fascism. They should be living beings, philosophies that can coexist with others. The lecture is over. As usual, you will find all the sources in the description to this video. Thank you for watching.